Welcome back to the 12th man. It's Manchester City versus Manchester United, the first Manchester derby of the season. I'm joined, as you can see, by Big Steve, huge City fan, growing personality across social media, and Football Terrace royalty. Neeks is here with us, repping Manchester United. How you doing, gents?
Fine, mate. Yeah, superb.
Not too bad.
I'm good. A little nervous about the weekend. I can't lie. Going away, playing a Pep City team is never a nice feeling in the build-up. I feel like a turkey that's been winked at by Bernard Matthews, but we'll see. We'll see what happens on the day, and all that. And from a City point of view, how are you feeling about this game, though? Because obviously your title favourites, Haaland scoring goals, but Man United have been on a good run of form and results of late.
Yeah, I think obviously we ain't lost a game yet. Haaland's hit the ground running. Like you say, he's scoring goals. He's looking unbelievable. Couldn't have asked for more. But City's we've not been playing that well, to be honest. You know what I mean? I've been to every game this season. We've papered over the cracks. We're 3-1 down at Newcastle. Half time, you're thinking we need a point, we get a point. We're 2-0 down at Palace. We come back and win that. We're coasting at Aston Villa and just slowed the game right down. Got caught with a late one and dropped points there. So, you know, Manchester City usually starts slow. Last season we got beat off Spurs. I think we dropped points against Palace. This season we've not been beat, but we've also dropped some silly points. The Haaland coming into the team's a different thing all around for us. We are trying to adapt to him. You can see it in games. He's trying to adapt to us. We're trying to adapt to him. I know looking at the stats, it looks like it's all clicked into gear, but believe me, it's not. I don't think we're firing all cylinders just yet. The Tottenham game being postponed was a big blow. I'd have liked to have got that Tottenham game out the way before we got into the derby. And yeah, it's not as rosy as people make out on the blue side. We're doing okay. We're unbeaten and Haaland's hit the ground running. But my honest opinion, if anyone lines up brave against us and wants to have a go and can hold the nerve, I think they can get at us.
I'm glad you said that. Because I have that same analysis of City this season. Obviously, we know you always start slow compared to your peak self. You know, when City are at their peak, they're winning 10, 11 games in a row. They don't start the season generally in that fashion. But what you do have, even though you're not playing at your best, is a clinical striker, which means that you can maybe get out of a jam, a game that you may have drawn last year or lost last year. He gets one chance. He didn't get a chance in the whole game, gets one chance and scores, for example.
Well, the Crystal Palace game last season, we lose that. We're 2-0 down to Palace, we lose that because Palace shut up shop and we're playing with a false nine. We're playing from left to right, and Palace are comfortable defending, shifting left to right. We don't get through. But now with Haaland, we go a little bit more direct. We throw the ball in the box.
You've always got that option. But what I've seen from City this year, and I would say it's different to previous years. So in the past, where you start slow, sometimes it hasn't clicked going forward, not taking some chances, maybe not creating a lot. This time, I'm seeing a lot of defensive issues where, as you said, teams, if they do decide to have a go, they can really get at you. And I'm looking at it like, and then you're caught in a rock and a hard place. And I guess we'll get onto it more. It's like, do you just go and attack City at the risk that you get hit for 4, or do you sit back knowing that Haaland only needs one chance to score? So yeah, I think early in the season is the best time to play City. So I'm not too disappointed that it's on the back of, especially an international break. So there might still be a little bit of rustiness that you hope may affect Man City more than Man United. And the form that we're in, I think for us is the best time to play this Man City side.
With Man City, like Haaland's been mentioned, Neeks. We know how deadly he can be. One chance, he can finish you off. You know, he can even score goals. It shouldn't be goals. The Champions League, I think it was the winner against Dortmund. No one should be getting their foot to that ball. Nobody. It was an impossible goal. How do Man United stop him, in your opinion? And is this sort of a really big acid test for Lisandro Martinez, who will clearly be targeted because of his height?
I think it's an acid test as far as social media, maybe even mainstream media goes, because his height has been highlighted so much. So people are just waiting for that moment where the height becomes the reason why he makes a mistake or we concede a goal. So if a ball comes in and Haaland heads it, it's because he's 5'9" and he couldn't jump high enough. I don't think it's an acid test for him as a footballer, him as a Man United player, or him even as a Premier League player. Haaland is a one of a kind. So you're not, if you fail the Haaland test, what does that mean for the rest of the Premier League season? Absolutely nothing in reality. But on top of that, he's played against Haaland before. Kept a clean sheet against Haaland before, and he's played strikers throughout his career. Like, Haaland's not going to be the first 6-foot striker he's played against. His rose in prominence in terms of his notoriety across Europe, in the Ajax team, into the Champions League, playing for Argentina, so much so that Ten Hag is willing to spend 50-odd million to get into the Premier League. So I'm comfortable with both him and, of course, the world-class Rafa Varane beside him to say, well, I wouldn't want any other centre-back at this point to deal with Haaland, if it's possible to deal with Haaland. For me, when you go into a game against Erling Haaland, you don't really focus on him. He has 13, 15, 16 touches a game. If you've got a plan to say we're going to mark Haaland, I'm not sure that's going to have much bearing on the game itself, because most of the game is going to be played away from him. For me, to stop Haaland, you stop the supply. You focus on De Bruyne, you focus on Bernardo Silva, Cancelo, and those kind of things. That's where the plan needs to be, because he's not going to get the ball from the halfway line and dribble past two and bang into a top corner. Maybe he might do it once, but it's not his game. So I think that's the way you stop Haaland, by stopping their supply, because Man City are all about the team. Haaland's really there to finish off the chances that we know they're going to ultimately create.
I think that's fair. I mean, in terms of yourself, Steve, I've seen on other channels, on Never a Foul and other places, people are kind of, City are easier to play now that Haaland's in the team. I mean, are you hearing that a lot as a City fan from rivals?
No, because listen, let me tell you, we was a lot easier to play last season than we are now, because last season we played the false 9. If you got your noses in front, there was a good chance you could sit back in 2 banks of 4 and see the game out and get a result. This season, you can't do that. If Manchester United go 2-0 up, 3-0 up at weekend, you know we can come back from that and win that.
You ain't coming back. If we go 3-0 up, if we got 2-0 up, you ain't coming back.
No, that's what Newcastle said at 3-1. They were coasting. We came back. Crystal Palace 2-0. No. Listen, you can't be gassing me up about Varane, because last season he was awful. He was awful, right? And you're gonna blame Maguire. We know that, because Man United are the blaming club, innit? It's everybody else's fault bar the person, innit? So remember Pogba. It was everyone's fault that they couldn't unlock Pogba. It's everyone's fault now that Varane was shit last season. But now you've signed the Butcher, the worst Butcher since fucking Pat Butcher out of EastEnders.
So when Haaland gets chopped down on Sunday, are you still going to be saying the Butcher?
So all of a sudden now, because don't forget, you lost against Brentford, the mighty Brentford. You lost against Brighton, the mighty Brighton, and you got turned over by Real Sociedad. But at the end of the day, you're led to believe that you're the greatest defence ever, Rolls-Royce Varane and the Butcher. But we'll forget that. We'll forget that. You can come into this game with this confidence. We'll let you have that. But you're going up against a different level now. So if you want to sit deep on Haaland, sit deep on him, and they'll push you back, and you let that space in front where De Bruyne and Bernardo will come into, they'll kill you. If you want to push him up and keep pushing him away and try and go into midfield and stop the supply, West Ham tried that. And Kevin De Bruyne put the ball right over the top, right through the middle, round to it, bang, goal. So you've got to decide what you want to do. You know, Man United have got to be disciplined. This is the hardest game they've played this season by a mile. Forget Arsenal, forget Liverpool, you had the Etihad against us. And I don't believe you can do it, because you get gassed up. You have 2 or 3 good games, and it's all of a sudden the names are coming out. Rolls-Royce Varane.
Wait. What's
bullshit, mate? It's bullshit. You can't be the Butcher of Old Trafford when you finish 5th and 6th, and you can't be Rolls-Royce Varane when you win football now.
Rolls-Royce Varane, very derogatory. Like, this man doesn't have a career.
He does, but the career was at Real Madrid. He's trying to claim he's at United. It's not. He's shit at United. He's shit.
No.
He's shit. Last year,
the whole team was terrible. So if we're going to say that the whhole team is terrible,
they go blaming the team again.
No. I'm not blaming.
Good players stand out in bad teams.
The team was terrible. But if you look at all our results, when we got battered by Liverpool twice, in terms of scoreline, battered by City once, but in terms of the game, battered by City twice. Varane didn't play any of those games. He had a lot of injuries last year, and we were clearly a better team, more solid, should I say, defensively, when he was there or not. This season, he didn't play the Brighton game. He didn't play the first half. I think he came on at half time in the Brentford game. Obviously, we were 4-0 down. He didn't play the Real Sociedad game. He's conceded 2 goals in 5 games this season, or 5.5 games, against Liverpool and against Arsenal. That's it. So to use the term Rolls Royce as some kind of derogatory that he doesn't deserve it, I think it's completely incorrect, because he has built that name and that from his career. And
so are we forgetting last season?
United,
are we forgetting last season?
He had a lot of injuries last year.
Right. Okay.
But he
okay.
did. That's a fact. Right. He had a lot of injuries last year. His first year in a new league.
Well, you should win the league then, innit?
Team.
Should win the league. You're going to win the league.
Well, you've got the best manager in the world. That's without a shadow of a doubt.
No, so you've got the Rolls Royce Varane, you're telling me, and you've got the Butcher.
Well, we have got the Rolls Royce Varane. So, and I think that both him and Martinez, and I think it's a budding partnership, are going to do a number on Haaland. I don't think Haaland's going to have it as easy.
I'm glad he's just said that. You need to.
I've said it. Yeah, I've said it. Clip it. 11 minutes in, clip it. Listen, I think he's going to do a number in it. I actually think that it's going to be and it's not the first time Haaland hasn't scored this year. I think it was he played one game anyway. He didn't score. I can't remember who it was against. So it's not like he scores against everyone in every minute of every game and he's unstoppable. Very brilliant striker, world class striker.
I don't care if Haaland gets pocketed by Varane at weekend, because we'll win 4-0 or 3-0 because he can't put us off.
Wow.
Everyone's focusing on Haaland.
You think you'll put that many goals past United, 3 or 4 goals?
We put 4 past them last season. We've put 6 past them in the past.
You do not feel there's been any improvement in Man United? Do you think these 4 games are a little bit of a fugazi? Do you think it's a bit of a purple patch, not a real improvement?
Yeah, but the people got to realise, have we not improved? Have we not got that number 9 we've been waiting for? We were the highest scorers in Europe's top 5 leagues with no striker. We've just added a striker that's got 14 goals, right? So people are overlooking this. You talk about Man United's defence and all that. You might get a shock. You can come in there confident as you want, but you're at the Etihad Stadium. You've got Erling Haaland. Kevin De Bruyne has gone back a level now, because last season he had to drive from midfield and create his own chances. Now he can look up. He's got that person to aim for, the pass. I just think,
Steve, if you put 4 past us, are you confident that it's going to be a 4-0? Like, are you confident in your defence that? Remember, I don't care. I don't care if we win 4-3. I don't care about if you win 4-3. I think we've won 3 out of the last 5 at the Etihad. We've had a decent record at Etihad. I think it's the opposite when we go to Old Trafford. You have a better record, a recent record at Old Trafford. But the high line that you like to play, and all credit, you do it, you win games, you win trophies, etc., is something that we have exploited over the recent years. So yes, we haven't come up against a Haaland, but the high line benefits the players that we have on the break. If Rashford's fit, for example, he has a brilliant record in big games in general, and a good record against Man City. And I think that with the defense that we've got at the moment, and if we can have players like Rashford, I don't think Martial's going to be fit, but Rashford especially, if Elanga's come off the bench, that pacing behind anyway. If Newcastle have been able to exploit it over 90 minutes, Crystal Palace were able to exploit it over 45 minutes, I think Man United have the quality to expose that back line. I don't think it's going to be this easy, well, it's the hardest team we played this year, yes, therefore we're going to lose 4-0. It doesn't work like that. Liverpool thought the same thing. Granted, they came to Old Trafford, but it was a different story. This is your hardest game this season. You haven't played anyone this season. But Dortmund
say that
in the Premier League. It is. Spurs would have been interesting. You said you were happy. Also, you're disappointed that you didn't play Spurs before the derby. But the way that
Spurs came to the Etihad last season and won.
The way that Spurs play, I think they would have probably beat you.
On a couple of times, so we thought, you know what, it'd be good to get a bit of revenge. It tends to happen. You get one over on Pep, he tends to put it right. I just think United fans have got this mad level of confidence. They seem to forget the bits they want to forget, and then start talking about the bits that are going good, and that doesn't do you any good stead. It's like you sound like me 20 years ago. So you'll be happy to beat Man City and not win fuck all, whereas I will be happily for you to beat us at the Etihad and we win the league. That's the difference in mentality now. I'm a winning mentality now. You're not. You're talking about the Butcher and Rolls Royce Varane. I don't give a shit about none of that.
I can't speak for the whole fan base, but we're previewing the derby, so I'm speaking specifically on the derby. But as far as Manchester United goes, for me, a bad season, or if we don't win a trophy in any given season, we have failed as a football club, regardless of
City, that's a great season for you.
For 90 minutes and until the next game is great. But at the end of the season, you put your medals on the table. We know that. And we know we don't need to go into terms of medals because this will be a very one-sided conversation. But in terms of the 90 minutes, there's no medals on the table. There's 11 men plus 5 subs and one football, or maybe multi-balls. I don't know what they do now in the Premier League. And that's what it's going to be judged on. And I think over 90 minutes, this season has shown that City are not unstoppable. This belief that not just City fans, but a lot of fans, Haaland's going to score 50 goals. He's going to score in every game this season. Man City are unstoppable. How long they signed Haaland for? 5 years. Well, that's 7 Premier Leagues in a row. It just don't work like that. Nothing is given. And if you think that we're going to come up and just say, well, it's a free hit. We don't do free hits in Manchester. You know that, being a Mancunian yourself, you know that Man United ain't going to turn up to the Etihad and just say, well, whatever happens, happens. No, we're going to believe and do our damnedest to get a result. And
yeah, finally you are. The last season you didn't believe. Last season you didn't believe. He was a shit show. Disgrace. The worst Man United team I've ever seen. Didn't run around. Didn't do anything. Lingard come on strolling about. He was beat. We came to Old Trafford. It was a training session. Might as well have put 11 cones out there. We knocked it around. We was all laying after 5-10 minutes. But this season you've got Rolls Royce back. You've got the Butcher. I'm expecting United to come with a bit of aggression and actually act like it's a derby. Because to be honest, the last 2 derbies have been embarrassing. And the ones you've won at the Etihad, yeah, they were great for you. They didn't mean anything. You beat us with Pogba, and then a week later you lost to West Brom and give us the league. You know what I mean? Rashford scored, you beat us, but we won the league. So at the end of the season, we're the ones going around Manchester and open top bus. And you're talking about Rashford getting one over at City. Didn't mean now. Doesn't mean now. So, but this will mean something. You're back. You're not. All of it is United are back. Ten Hag's back. You know what I mean? I'm ready for it.
The Man United that I grew up loving, and obviously the Man United you grew up hating, was the greatest side, the best
You're
side
well
in
away
England,
from that, mate.
the best side.
10,
so we're not back.
Years.
We're far from being back. But as this Premier League season goes, as form goes, as in terms of the way that the players and the manager are doing right now, I'm hella more confident going into this derby than we were last year. I think we went into that game on the back of a 5-0 beating to Liverpool. And at the end of the season, of course, for us, our season was over. You lot had, obviously, the league to fight for. So I'm a hella more confident going into this game. And I think we have a right to. It's not about being overconfident, thinking that we're back, standards slipping. No, it's a Manchester derby. And I hope that the players are going to go in with the same fire that I have in my belly, wanting to do one over on them. And then we deal with the rest of the season. That's the way you have to look at it. You can't say, well, because Man City is the best, this result doesn't mean anything. No, every result in football means everything. Because when we come back next derby, I don't want to be hearing what happened last season. We're going to talk about what happened in this game. And in this game, I think we're going to see a proper Man United.
Good points there, lads. I wanted to ask a little bit about starting lineups of both teams. Starting with City, to be fair. Obviously, you know the majority of the starters. From an attacking point of view, who's going to start on that left-hand side, in your opinion? Would it be Foden? Will it be Grealish? What are you saying, Steve?
I don't know. I've got a feeling he's going to tinker with it a little bit. He's been playing Foden on the right a couple of times. Grealish might go on the left. If it was me, I'd probably play Grealish on the left and Foden on the right. Alvarez has got a bit of a say for me. This season, when we've needed a spark and we've gone a bit flat, he's been the one coming off the bench that has sort of upped the tempo and got us going. A lot of City fans are calling for Alvarez to start, Foden, Haaland, Alvarez. But I think if you do that, you're missing a trick, you know what I mean, with him coming off the bench. So people have been talking about Mahrez. He's obviously, Mahrez has not hit the ground running yet. He always does okay against United, to be fair. Got 2 last year. I really don't know. In my opinion, I'd play Grealish, Haaland, Foden. But I could see Mahrez playing and Foden on the left.
Yeah, I hear that. How about in terms of Grealish, Neeks? A lot of people are talking about him being a flop, hasn't really hit the ground running. Would you rather see him start or on the bench?
I hope he starts and I hope he plays 90 minutes. I think Foden is a dangerous player. Like, I think Foden is quality. And I think right now, and I don't know if he's right, he's right now, he's levels above Grealish. And for the rest of their career, I think he will prove to be levels above Grealish. Grealish is a good player, but he's not a player that I fear because I think there's better passers in the team than him. There's better dribblers. There's obviously better goal scorers. For me, he is a cog in a wheel that isn't really that important. He can be replaced. Bernardo Silva's levels above him. Mahrez is a player who I have to say is dangerous. Like he can cut in, score a goal, take a man down the outside, come on the inside. Grealish ain't gonna do that. I mean, Dallow's not the greatest right back, so you have to. I think there's always that Dallow element that can come against any winger, but especially out on that left hand side, he's not a player who I think we need to focus any plans on. If anything, you play Grealish, and it's one less plan that we need to put forward. And I'm not saying Grealish is a bad player, but I just don't think he's right for Man City. He definitely ain't worth 100 million. I think everyone can accept that. But I just don't think he's a player that Man City really need. And he's one of the more replaceable players. So Grealish, he can start. I'm happy with that. Foden, obviously, I said I think he's quality. But De Bruyne is the main one. De Bruyne is going to be, for me, the difference. If he has a great game, I don't think you can stop him. If he's off, then Man United can take advantage of that. And I think he's the one that we need to focus on, not really Grealish.
Fair enough. And Man United have got their own issues. There's reports that we know Martial's out, Rashford might not be fit. That means there's a starting place up for grabs. We kind of know Anthony and Sancho are most likely to start. Elanga or Ronaldo, Neeks, who are you picking to start that game?
It's funny, you said Sancho and Anthony. I would start Elanga. If Rashford's not there, I would start Elanga. That doesn't necessarily mean that Anthony and Sancho start. I think Anthony and Sancho are quite similar in the way they play in terms of not express pace. If we're gonna, trying to exploit Man City's high line, not really gonna knock balls in behind. So I think you have to have a player like that in the front three. So Elanga, for me, if Rashford isn't available, has to start. And I think it's really a toss-up whether you go over Ronaldo or one of those two. And I would actually, it's a tough one. Honestly, I think I wouldn't start Ronaldo. He's not on the best of form right now. It's obviously, we know he didn't have a pre-season. He's gone away to Portugal. The first game he was decent. Second game against Spain, he wasn't very good. To put him into a Manchester derby where you're not going to have the lion's share of possession and you really ask him to run around for how long? 60, 70 minutes? I think you're not doing himself justice, you're not doing your team justice. So if Rashford's not available, Elanga for me has to start. And I guess it would be a front three of Sancho and Anthony. But like we did against Arsenal, Ronaldo's going to be, for me, important off the bench, especially if the game is tight in the last 20, 25 minutes. Because of those three, if you're going to put someone through the middle, it was at least it's more likely to stick with Ronaldo than it would a Rashford, than it would Elanga. So, yeah, Ronaldo maybe last 20, 25 minutes, but I think you need that pace, you need that energy and that pressing to do as much as you can off the ball against the Man City side who like to dominate possession.
I get that. I mean, from your point of view, Steve, I mean, with the other two out, Elanga or Ronaldo, does it even really matter to you? Do you have any real fear of the United attacking prowess at all in this game?
No, like I said to you before, City can be got at. When United came there under Solskjaer, they had a bit of an identity on the counter-attack. They caught us out a couple of times and it worked. Last season, their goal, Rashford on the bit of the counter and scored. Sancho scored on the counter last year. Great goal. But City just upped it a notch. And I mean, they are dangerous. We're not the fastest at the back. Cancelo and Walker, when they're playing this inverted fullback, sometimes get caught in no man's land in midfield. And, you can exploit that. I've seen it done a few times this season. But the key is, it gets done. But we don't lose the game. We don't lose the games. You know what I mean? We only get better as the season starts to progress. And at the end of the day, I expect us to be comfortable with whatever they throw at us. Ronaldo, Elanga, we shouldn't be worrying about them, to be honest. They should be worrying about us. We're at home. They should be worrying about the dangers all across the park. And like you said about Grealish, you've got to be careful with Grealish because when City signed Grealish, the whole nation was begging Grealish to play in the Euros. They were all going mad for him. He was the hottest property about. Yeah, he's not used as the football purists want him to be used. But don't forget, he was signed because Bernardo Silva was leaving. So Grealish was signed because Bernardo was leaving. Grealish would have played centre mid for Man City, going left, going right. Come on for England in Italy the other night. He changed the game, left and right. He had a free role. Signed Bernardo Silva stays. There's nowhere for Grealish to play. He's not getting in ahead of Bernardo. He's not getting in ahead of De Bruyne. So he's pigeonholed out on the left. And he's being asked to do a job, basically, to just not give away the ball, not be falling around on the floor, just keep the machine moving and ticking. And that, like you say, it is a waste of a talent. And I get where people are saying he's a flop, but he's not a flop. Some of the games, he's there to slow it down. Bernardo Silva said it against Newcastle, that Pep said, you're attacking too fast. It allowed Newcastle to catch us on the break with Maximin, and they got 3 goals in front. And I know that sounds daft, attacking too fast, but I've seen it this season. He's slowing it right down. Grealish on the ball, left, passing it into midfield. It's slowly. It's a weird setup, but it's Pep's setup.
But do you think he's going to be successful? Like have a successful Man City career as an individual? Of course, you're going to win trophies, and he's going to be in the squad, so we have all the medals. But is he going to, at the end of it, say, yeah, that was the right move for me? It worked out.
Well, only he can say. Listen, if he wants to come to a football team, Fabian Delph signed for Man City as a midfielder, ended up getting turned into a left back, right?
And he was putting in good performances.
He played a good performance for him. It worked out right. Zinchenko came to Man City as a number 10. He ended up as a left back. We know Pep can change these players like Lam at Bayern and all that. He's probably trying to do a little bit with that with Jack. If Jack is patient and the Man City fans are patient with him and that the fee doesn't help, he might come into it. But this is a big season for him. Last season, he got his 1 year grace. This season, the fans and people are waiting for him to do it. Mahrez had the same problem, came in at Man City, was Premier League proven, but he didn't hit the ground running, got a season. Cancelo, after his first season, wanted to leave because he couldn't get what Pep was saying with the fullbacks. And then Rodri, he came in, people were giving him grief, saying we'd sign this player. He wasn't. That was a first season syndrome. Let's hope, as a Man City fan, I hope that Jack can find a bit of form and start doing the business, but I don't know.
All these players come into the much proclaimed best team in the world, some people say, even though you haven't won the Champions League. And they get 1 season grace. But Varane comes into a shit show of a club. And he's being written off because of the 1 season. What is going on?
No, you're coming into a Pep Guardiola Manchester City team where fullbacks aren't fullbacks. And left wide players aren't left wide players. They're not allowed to cross the ball and they've got to come back
and
inside.
Man United, we ain't got footballers. Last season, we're not footballers.
No, what I'm saying is, listen, none of your players would get in our Pep Guardiola team. So the argument's irrelevant. A centre-back is a centre-back. So Varane, to talk about Varane coming in, centre-backs coming in Manchester City. Akanji's been there 3 games. He looked like he's been there 2 seasons. Centre-backs in this team, he's class, right? They can play there. But what I'm saying is, full-backs and coming into midfield. Pep Guardiola at Barcelona signed Thierry Henry, asked him to play wide left and asked him not to come anywhere near the ball. You watch the documentary where Henry explains it. He says, Pep Guardiola, I said to him, I'm Thierry Henry, I score goals. He said, no, you're Thierry Henry. You play on the wide left. You push that full-back as far out as you can to allow Messi and Iniesta and Xavi to play in the middle. And Thierry Henry couldn't get his head around it. Eric Abidal, one of the best fullbacks in the world, said the same. He went to the president of Barcelona and said, this manager doesn't know what he's doing. I'm a left back. He's asking me to come into midfield. This is how hard it is to play in the system. Some get it, some don't. And that's why us as City fans, we try and give him 1 year grace. If he doesn't do it this season, then it'll be time for him to go.
Varane walked into your side, by the way.
He doesn't.
Actually strolls in backwards, moonwalk.
He doesn't.
In the suit that he came into.
Real Madrid Varane, yeah, but the one that you've done.
Today's Varane.
No.
Today, September. 100%.
Wait, before we do score predictions, I wanted to do some quick fire questions for you. It's going to be X or X. Obviously, some from the past, some from now. So I'll go to Neeks first.
Okay, go.
Bruno or KDB?
KDB.
Last thing is Bruno or KDB?
KDB.
Yeah. David De Gea or Edison?
I'll let him go first.
David De Gea, man. To hell with this. David De Gea. Edison can't save the football, man. He can kick.
He only wins the Golden Gloves like 4 years on the trot. Something.
90% of the ball.
I assume you're picking Edison there, big
100%. 100%.
Next one's a little harder. I'll go to you first again, Neeks. Rooney or Aguero?
Oh, Wayne Rooney. Where is Aguero's Champions League, by the way? I'm still looking for it. I just can't find it anyway. Right. Go on, Steve.
That old chestnut. Aguero, obviously.
Going for Aguero.
Aguero, that's QPR tax, man. QPR tax.
Now you only look at Aguero's stats in it for the, you only to say it greatest.
Diaz or Martinez?
That's not even. That is just a joke.
It's a joke. It's not a joke. I mean, I give it to Diaz, but
2022 Player of the Year, Premier League Player of the Year, Defender of the Year, Champions League Defender of the Year, all that from the other year. Premier League winner.
Qatar 2022.
Martinez is famous for being in Game of Thrones or Lord of the Rings, whatever it is, one of them little Frodo people.
I'll give it to Diaz because he's been here 1 year, but it's not for long. Not for long.
Obviously, know you're going for Diaz. You don't even have to say it, I don't think, with what you said there. Some juicier ones now. Juicier ones, Neeks. Man United 2008, Man City 2018.
That's not even close. It's not even close. 10 years later, and they still couldn't do what we done. They could not do what we done. It's easy. Like 2008, Premier League winners, Champions League winners, greatest manager of all time. 2018, they got 100 points. Okay. Still one trophy for it. Still the one trophy. Well done.
What are you saying, Steve?
The treble's a tough thing to do. So Centurions is also a tough thing to do. I'll give them the treble because they're not going to win much out of this debate, so they can have that.
There we go. The next one. This is a tough one. Yaya Toure or Paul Scholes?
Go on, Steve.
Let Steve go first.
Listen, I love Paul Scholes, by the way. Paul Scholes, in the Big Six debates when we're doing midfielders, I always put Paul Scholes ahead of Lampard, ahead of Gerrard. Paul Scholes is Paul Scholes. Yaya Toure is unbelievable. The numbers, listen, Big Yaya to me is a legend. I'm going to go Paul Scholes.
100% agree. Paul Scholes, yeah, definitely the best English midfielder we see in the Premier League. And yeah, for me, I would say the best midfielder we see in the Premier League.
Paul Scholes is different. People don't understand. They're going about Gerrard and this. You just don't understand. Paul Scholes was just Paul Scholes. It's just different.
Yeah, I look at Paul Scholes goes into that category with the Xavi and the Iniestas. There's one thing about Scholes that gets overlooked is people always put the stats of Lampard and Gerrard up against him. And by the way, Scholes has great stats, but Scholes from about his mid-20s dropped into a deeper playmaking role and controlled midfields, and he still
Paul Scholes didn't lead the most cleanest lifestyle, as you think. Paul Scholes likes a few beers every now and then, and if you only have to watch the overlap recently with Neville when he's talking about certain times where he'd go out on the beer and then he'd come and play the games and trying to dodge Fergie for stuff like that. And I'm not making that as an excuse, but natural ability and talent, Paul Scholes just made it look easier.
I think the biggest thing I always look at as well is about when you look at ability of players. And a lot of people, and I know that he's not flavor of the month anymore because of his off the field antics, but Ryan Giggs is an example when people say, Mane's better. I'm like, look, if Mane could be 35 to 40, drop into central midfield and dominate and win Premier Leagues, then you can tell me he's a better football player. You might say better winger or better at doing something, but to be able to change your position as you get older and still dominate in the hardest league in the world. And that's how I look at Scholes. Scholes came out of retirement at an older age than when Lampard and Gerrard stopped playing football, and he dominated in midfield and won another Premier League. And you just can't do that unless you're one of the greatest. So yeah, I think he stands. I think the thing is, in Manchester, I lived there for a long time. There's always big rivalry between the two clubs, but there was always an element of respect for the local lads. I felt anyway, like talking to locals and things like that.
Did you see the overlap the other night? This is another thing that a few of the shows we've been on. Paul Scholes said that the game he loved the most was the Manchester derby. And they said, well, not Liverpool. He went, no, the Manchester derby. He said, and then Neville said, I know you and Nicky Butt and a few players, City always meant more to you. And he went, I know. And Roy Keane said the same. He said the Arsenal-Man United rivalry was the one, but after that it was City. And he said, well, City was low. They just come up. They were getting relegated. He went, I know, but Man City and United had an edge. And I've been on a few shows and they try and say it's the worst derby. Listen, you live in Manchester. This derby lived in Manchester. This derby is horrendous. And it's crazy. Me and Saeed did a preview today outside the Etihad. There was milkmen driving past calling Saeed a red bastard. There was people calling me a blue. And it was getting mad, mate. And that's just like, it's crazy at the minute. And now because both teams, now City are back up there winning trophies and that, it's got worse, man.
My last derby, I was saying off air, my last derby that I went to was in 2018. And that was obviously the day, as a City was supposed to win the league, and we came back and won. And just from that alone, you can see that it means something. It's not as Twitter would tell you or social media will say that, it doesn't mean anything, small derby. No, it means something, regardless of
derbies mean the most. You're not. If I say to a Tottenham fan, "What's bigger, Man City, United, Tottenham?" He's going to say Tottenham, and a Man City United fan's going to say the same. It shouldn't be about that. It's what it means to you. And Manchester derby has had mad history. Man City's been down from the 60s, 70s, 80s. City was up, United were down. Then it swapped. Then United had a big dominance. We were really low. United fans mocking us, the banner in the Stretford end, and then to come back to 6-1, the FA Cup semi-final, the Aguero moment, and all that. It's mad now. City are getting the revenge. It's crazy. But the Manchester derby throughout the years, I've been going since '89. I've been to every one. And it's mad. There's no other feeling like it, man.
Mate, do you know what's crazy about it? Like, I'm not one of these people that disrespects out-of-town fans. I am one, or international fans. But unless you've lived in a city for a period of time and experienced those match days, it's different. And when I was always in Manchester fighting and stuff, we used to have a big tournament 3 times a year in Urmston. I used to train out of Denton and Stockport. I lived in Denton. I lived in where else? I lived in Longsight. I lived in Longsight for a while. That was pretty scary. Being a Cockney in Longsight was very scary. I lived all over. And I remember though, my first job I got injured and couldn't fight for a while, so I had to go and get a job. So I went and worked in Phones for You in Stockport. And I remember selling contracts. And this was the first time I realized how big the rivalry was. When City fans, they wouldn't buy Vodafone. They would not take a Vodafone contract out. No one. No matter how good the phone was, no matter how good the deal was, no matter what we offered them, it was like, they sponsor Man United, but I won't take it out. And that for me was one of those things where you realize that's how huge it is. And I know for a fact, if iPhones started sponsoring Man United, City fans wouldn't have iPhones anymore. They'd go to Android and you don't really notice that unless you live outside the town. And I always find, again, London's a very different city for rivalries. You get it in kind of, if there's 2 North London teams, even when you're a West Ham fan, there's only one big team in East London. In Manchester, it's just the city's divided, families are divided, just like Merseyside is an example. It's very different. And it is big. It definitely is big. And I think in recent years, because United have fallen off, there's been a bit of an equaling out in that way, because United haven't been playing for the honours in the same way. But it's definitely huge on a local level. Before we go, boys, I wanted to get your score predictions for this game. Away team first, Neeks, what are you saying?
So before the international break, or at the beginning, I was saying 1-0 City. I felt we'll keep Haaland quiet, but they generally find a way to win. But if Rashford's fit and we have that pace on the break, he ended a career of a previous Man City centre-back one time in a derby. And it wouldn't surprise me if a few careers get ruined. And maybe you might say, at the end of this derby, it's no longer Diaz, it is Martinez. According to Big Steve, maybe we'll see if Rashford can ruin another centre-back. But I'm actually going to go 1-1. I'm going to go 1-1. Haaland won't score. That's my big prediction.
Haaland going 1-1 after that big speech about Rashford ending careers. You're going 1-1.
We keep the unbeaten record. Unbeaten record. One of your centre-back, Akanji and Ake will be your starting centre-backs after this derby, because the rest of them ain't going to be happy. John Stone's already running scared, feigning injury and all that nonsense, running scared from the derby. So we'll leave him to one side. But if Rashford starts 1-1, no goal for Haaland. And we show the rest of the Premier League how to, stop the Norwegian beast.
What are you saying,
Yeah.
Steve?
No, I think City win 3-1. I think it'd be 2-1. And then I think Alvarez will come off the bench late on, bag one. Haaland's definitely scoring. 100% he's scoring. He's in the form of his life. You know, he's a new king of Manchester. He hates Man United after what they did to his dad. It's going to be a bit like that film Taken. I think he's got a particular set of skills and he's coming for you. So I'd be very, very scared.
I like that. I like that. Viewers, look, we want to know what you think. Leave your comments below. Make sure you're smashing the like buttons as well, hitting the subscribe button as well, and all that jazz. We want to know what you think is going to happen in the Manchester derby come Sunday. Boys, really do appreciate your time coming on the show with us today. But until next time, everybody, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again very, very soon. Thank you.